but it's out there for the world to see. It's not like you go and do your 5K and put the time down and go, oh, well, I sucked this year. Do you know what I mean? Because it's only you that knows.
Sweet. How was it then coming back? So you came back in 2023, second year with GT Factory Racing, with this curiosity, this kind of reprogrammed version of yourself, and I'm guessing both in a better state physically and mentally than you'd been for a few years at least. How did it feel coming back? Like, how did you approach it?
I was terrified, I was absolutely terrified. I have never been more nervous in my life. Like, I was so scared because I knew, I was like, and as much as I had all that curiosity and stuff like that, it was crunch time because it was like, cool, well, you've done all the work. You've done all the work. And I don't know how this is actually, like, I'm curious, but it maybe you're just not that fast anymore. Do you know what I mean? That was a real, like, maybe you've just lost it. And I was really scared of that, even though I knew I was riding well and I felt good. Like, I was like, yeah, I just don't know. And that I think that's a sort of massively overlooked part of racing, is that vulnerability of putting yourself out there. Like, every time you race, you're putting yourself out there to people to sort of judge your performance, judge you as an athlete, you to judge yourself, and that, you know, have those expectations. But it's out there for the world to see. It's not like you go and do your 5K and put the time down and go, oh, well, I sucked this year. Do you know what I mean? And because it's only you that knows.
Yeah.
But, like, you put that out to everybody and someone's paying you to do a good job, and you may have done everything perfectly and it just doesn't add up or things don't go right. Like, it's high stress. So anyway, yeah, it was really nerve-wracking coming back to that first one and putting down I was like 18th or something, but like I felt good on the bike. I just needed to have a bit more fitness. I was like, all right, okay, that's fine. Like, I can work on that. The fact is, I just felt good on my bike after feeling terrible on my bike for over a year. I was like, cool, well, that's a step in the right direction. And then the next week I was 9th. And I was like, wow, that's nuts. But that was an interesting race too, because I was still building back the belief in myself that I could actually do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe I could do it at that point still, because I had shaken myself so hard the year before. I was like, how is this happening? Who is, you know, like, when you lose yourself so hard, you're like, who even am I? And then you come back to a race and you're doing well. You're like, I don't know if I can keep doing well. Like it was nuts, because I've always really backed myself. I've just been like, I know I can just do a good job here and I'll just do what I can do. And I was freaking out. I had to really manage my mind so hard, because I just didn't believe that I would be able to hold a good result yet. And had to and that was part of the build back in the season, was starting to believe that what I was doing was enough and just trust it. It was, so it was definitely really scary to return after that.
Did it feel like, despite that anxiety and emotion around your ability to perform, did it feel better, healthier, like coming in with that curiosity rather than that approach to win? Did that curiosity allow you to deal with that in a better way?
Yeah, for sure. It was just, there was so much at those first two going on. Do you know, it was like pretty intense. Just so many things. It's like, you're back with the team, you know, you're figuring out the bike, working with different people, and nobody really gets what you've been through. So you're kind of just there doing your thing, but actually it's a really huge deal for you to even be there and turned up, actually have made it back to that start line. So it was like trying to manage all of that, whilst also just being the first few races of the season, which are already very stressful anyway, just in terms of like, nobody knows how fast they are, you know, it's just a kind of test the water scenario. So yeah, it was really, really intense to come back to that.
Yeah, but it started to settle in a bit, I guess, once you'd got a few under your belt. And then after Blue Derby, we went to Pietra. And did you have a bit, was it a head knock in Pietra? Which obviously you've got that, you know, your history with concussion and the challenges that's given you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. because I'd done 2 months of real good work, and I'd got new suspension on the bike, and I'd put so much time into like getting it set up right and everything. Like I worked my ass off for 2 months to be ready for that block, like really went for it, because I was like, okay, we've done those first 2 races, we know where the weaknesses are, let's get into this and improve for the next ones. Like I'm keen, I want to, I'm back, like let's do this. And then like second stage, crash, smacked my head, and I was like, oh, ow. Rode down the rest of the stage like gently, testing everything, trying to figure out am I balancing, am I not balancing. And then once I got to the bottom, I knew. I was like, nah, you can't push through this. And then when I pedaled up the hill more, and I started to get like way pressure in my head just from pedaling up the hill, I was like, yeah, you can't push through this, even if it's not gonna be that bad. Stopping now means that you've got a chance to come back, but if you continue, crash again, you're actually gonna have big problems. So it was just so annoying, because you have to be so sensible with head injuries, but if you are, it works. But at the time, it's like, well, I'm fine and I could probably carry on and be okay. But it's like, yeah, but then you crash, you're out for even longer. And I was just annoyed, because I was like, I'm finally getting going again. Like, I'm finally getting going again. And we're building quite nicely. And this has just happened.